Greece's new finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, has urged Germany not to humiliate the Greeks over their debts. He was speaking in Berlin, where he's been meeting his German counterpart as he tries to win support for Greece's plan to restructure its debt. The German finance minister said he recognised how tough the past few years have been for Greece and the progress they've made, but he said Greece must honour its commitments. Well, our correspondent Jenny Hill is in Berlin. Jenny. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. The Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, has defended his actions and those of his military during 4 years of civil war. In an interview with the BBC, President Assad denied that Syrian forces had used chemical weapons or barrel bombs to kill civilians, and he insisted he was doing his duty to protect his country from terrorists. Since the conflict began, 220,000 Syrians have been killed in fighting between President Assad's forces and different anti-government groups. The conflict has destroyed entire neighbourhoods, forcing 9 million people from their homes. UNICEF estimates there are over 6 million children in urgent need of help, while more than 3.5 million refugees have crossed borders into neighbouring countries. Capitalising on the chaos, Islamic State has taken control of huge swathes of Syria, making a base for itself in the northern city of Raqqa. And since September, a US-led coalition has launched airstrikes inside Iraq and Syria in an effort to degrade and ultimately destroy IS, according to President Obama. Well, our Middle East editor, Jeremy Bowen, is in Beirut. At the G7 summit in Germany, world leaders are meeting for the second and final day. On the agenda, climate change and the fight against international terrorism. Our Berlin correspondent Jenny Hill is in Schloss Elmau for us now. Jenny. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. HSBC says it's cutting 8,000 jobs in the UK as part of its strategy to reduce costs and simplify the business. It's also going to scrap the HSBC brand on the high street, though it hasn't yet decided on a new name. The bank, Europe's biggest, says it needs to save more than £3 billion in costs within 2 years. Here's our business correspondent, Emma Simpson. People in Wales could soon be banned from using e-cigarettes in enclosed public places like restaurants, pubs and at work. The new public health law would make Wales the first part of the UK to ban them. But the proposals, which would come into force in 2017, have divided opinion. Britain's largest cancer charity says there's no scientific evidence to support the policy and it could actually undermine efforts to give up tobacco. Our Wales correspondent, Hal Griffith, is in Cardiff. Hal. He's one of the UK's best-known writers and illustrators, and this morning Chris Riddell was named as the 9th Children's Laureate, following in the footsteps of Michael Morpurgo, Jacqueline Wilson and Quentin Blake. This is one of his most famous creations, The Ghost of a Mouse. He says he hopes to use his 2 years to lead people into the wonderful world of books and reading. Daniela Ralph reports. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. Police in the United States are searching for a white gunman who shot dead 9 people, 3 men and 6 women, at an African-American church in Charleston, South Carolina. Police say the killer had spent an hour in the church at a prayer meeting before opening fire. Detectives say they're treating the attack as a hate crime and they've warned people not to approach the suspect, who's in his 20s. Richard Galpin reports. The Prince of Wales and the Prime Minister have attended a memorial service at St Paul's Cathedral to mark the 200th anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo. The battle was a decisive victory for an army of British, Dutch and Prussian troops against the forces of the French Emperor Napoleon. Tens of thousands of troops were killed or wounded in the battle, which settled the balance of power in Europe for a century. Well, Robert Hall is on the battlefields of Waterloo in Belgium. Robert. That essential repair work on the Palace of Westminster could cost around £7 billion unless MPs move out for as long as 6 years. That's according to a report into the state of repair of the palace, which is partly sinking and has asbestos and outdated cabling. Our political correspondent Chris Mason reports. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. The future of Greece is hanging in the balance after the country overwhelmingly rejected the terms of an international bailout package. Eurozone leaders are considering their response to the referendum in which 61% of Greeks voted no. A summit is due to be held tomorrow in Brussels to discuss the crisis. Queues have formed once again at banks, which are expected to run out of cash in just a few days. Here, David Cameron held an emergency meeting with the Chancellor and Governor of the Bank of England. Chris Morris reports from Athens. Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. After 17 hours of talks in Brussels, Eurozone leaders have reached an agreement to keep Greece in the euro. They are offering a third bailout in return for tough new reforms that have to become law in Greece by Wednesday. The cost of the bailout is huge, £61 billion. But so too is the price the Greeks are now paying. They face years of even more and tougher austerity. The German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the road ahead would be long and arduous.